Welcome to Live from America podcast. This is Hatem, a very special guest today. We've been trying to make this happen for a few times now. Pastor Jackson Lahmeyer, a national faith leader, founder of Pastors for Trump, and member of the White House Faith Council. And he is here for a great discussion. Thank you for being here.
Oh man, thank you so much for having me on. Love what you're
Uh,
doing.
Yes, I'm glad that we finally made it happen. I know we tried a few times, but you're one of the people that I always was looking forward to interview and get your voice heard by this side of the country. City.
It's a different world from where I am in Oklahoma.
Oh yeah, yeah. How's the weather there?
It's hot right now. It is so hot. It's like 94 degrees outside.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's not that bad here, which is great. Also a big fan of your book, which we'll discuss later. But
Thank you.
let's jump right into it. Like there's so many violence and awful things happening in the world like right now. And it's like, and I always feel like it's time, for me at least, as some people, think that religion is the reason. I always feel religion is a solution, but I feel like voices like yours need to be heard even more, regardless of the political affiliation of anything else. It just to be a good human being. What's
Yeah.
going on? Let's talk about Charlie Kirk assassination and just people like openly celebrating, regardless if you agree with them or not. Like, and this is not just him, it's been a trend. What's your thoughts on that?
Charlie was a very good friend of mine, and America, lost a legend, and the body of Christ lost an ambassador to an entire generation, a wife lost a husband, two children lost their father, and like I said, many of us we lost a friend. However, Charlie Kirk gained his eternal reward. He heard the words that all of us want to hear: "Well done, my good and faithful servant." And Charlie's more alive today than he ever was before. And so we rejoice for him. He has gained that reward. However, we are still here. We mourn for his family and the Turning Point USA family. And the question then becomes, how now shall we live in the midst of the aftermath? Because to your point, it has brought out some very wickedness and ugliness among people, even some that have surprised me, people that I'm friends with, that have said things that just make you scratch your head and say, do you not realize you may disagree with him politically, religiously, but this guy is a dad. He's 31. He has a wife. It's exposing the hearts of many people. But what we have to do in the midst of this is we have to make sure we guard our hearts from hate, because hate is so easily something that our hearts are attracted to. Oh, if they've done the studies, rage keeps people on social media. That's why within the algorithms, as you're scrolling through TikTok, rage will keep you scrolling. And the human heart, we have to be careful, because we can want to lash back out in like manner, but we don't overcome evil with evil. We overcome evil with good. And so I'm just reminded of the words of Jesus when they were hanging him on the cross: "Forgive them. They don't even know what they're doing." And I know that was Charlie's heartbeat. Now, that doesn't mean there shouldn't be justice. The role of the government is to bring about justice for victims. However, vigilante justice is not something that we need to aspire to. And so it's sad, though, to see the response of some people celebrating, mocking. It just goes to show you how wicked the human heart is, and how important a human heart transformation is that can only come through Jesus Christ.
How do you think we reach that level of, being that bad? Is it like social media? Is it the political leaders and just is it the lies? Is it what do you think? Why did we get to that level where people just become I mean we say inhuman, but it's just like it's I don't know if that's a human nature. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. No, I think it's the human nature. We are sinful by nature. You say, well, I don't believe in original sin. Well, go put two toddlers in a room with one toy. You'll become a very firm believer in original sin. We are born with a sinful nature. That's the human problem. The heart of the problem is the heart of humanity. That's the problem. And Jesus offers a free heart surgery, and that is to transform your heart. But if you've not had your heart transformed, this is the natural byproduct. It's evil, it's wicked, and then you compound that with social media. You compound that with the culture that we live in and political leaders and the media, throwing out terms like Charlie Kirk is Hitler-esque. Well, if Charlie Kirk is really a Hitler, then that shooter did a good thing, because none of us would disagree that if you could have taken out Hitler before he ever started World War II, that would have been a good thing. So if these people really believe that Charlie Kirk was a Hitler type figure, then he did a good thing. But those people who are saying that, they actually don't believe that. They say that for clicks. They say that to build up rage. And unfortunately, it resulted in one individual taking that bait, acting upon it, and took away Charlie's life. And so it's just, I think the culture we live in, compounded with the nature that we all have, it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, I feel like, especially the last few elections in any level, it becomes more of, it used to be like you have the leaders that say, like, I'll do this or I'll do this. It becomes leaders that say, not him. He's gonna do this. It's fear.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yes.
and I feel like, people start to be like, you know what, this is bullshit. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. It's like,
You're fine.
so it's crazy. T Tell us, you knew Charlie personally. Tell us stuff that people don't know about him.
Well, he was actually very funny. And, I think people could pick up he was quick witted. He was just funny and just a genuinely good guy. You see the clips, right? I mean, that's how most people know Charlie is, through clips or interviews. But he was a real human being. And I think we have to humanize Charlie Kirk, and that he was a real human. The thing he was most proud of was not Turning Point USA, which had become a gigantic force in the United States. He was proud of it, but that was not his greatest accomplishment, according to him. The greatest accomplishment, according to him, was he had a wife that he loved and he had two children that he adored. And so that was his like goal. Some people, they have different goals in life, right? I want to attain this status or advance in this industry. Charlie's was to have a good family and to love Jesus Christ with all of his heart, soul, mind, and strength. And he accomplished those things. He really did. Unfortunately, it ended way too soon.
It's crazy, but that's the thing, is like when people, and this is like, I find a truth, in all like conflicts. If people meet the human part of the other person, you're gonna talk,
Yes.
And I remember I interviewed one of the mother of the hostages in right now, and I was, and and one of the things that she told me, about this conflict, that I found it because she's a mother before anything else, is like, I have the exact same pain of mothers in Gaza right now. Not
Yes.
because I'm the other side, that means they good and I'm bad, or I'm good and they're
Right.
bad. No, it's, you can't compare pains. I think if anybody start seeing themselves or somebody they love in that, you know, form of like just human being away from anything, it's crazy to me. And for me, with Charlie, like, you agree with him or disagree with him. I mean, I agree with a lot, I disagree with a lot, but he is the person that was, want to have a discussion. Like, how many times, and actually let you talk? How many times do you feel people like don't even let you talk? They try to, brainwash you with stuff. But you have a chance to actually, you know what? I'm gonna talk to you, and if I have a point of view, maybe I convince you, maybe I convince the other people. It's literally try to make me an idiot every day to everybody. So I don't understand what else people want. And it's not, there's so many evil people that none of them deserve this. And there's a lot of good people, none of them deserve this. So how do we
Yeah.
get to that level?
Well, to add on to what you were saying about Charlie, he was so good at just letting you say whatever you believed. And even if it
Exactly.
was like wacko crazy, like that doesn't even make sense,
Yeah.
Charlie would let him express it, and he wouldn't interrupt him, which was a beautiful thing, because most of us, if you're saying something like really, really just dumb, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna be like, interrupt. Like that doesn't even make sense. And
Yeah.
he would allow people to talk, express themselves, and then he would just go about picking apart what they had said in a gentle manner that was just, let us reason together.
Yeah.
And that's why he was so effective. I mean, if
Yeah.
you think about it, that's why he was effective. And people will say, he was full of hate speech. I don't think so. I think they just hated his speech and the way that he was able to articulate and communicate things to a generation that has really had a transformation. I mean, this was a generation that all the experts said was going to be a lost generation, a lost generation. That was all the experts. And Charlie Kirk proved them wrong.
Yeah.
He had a tremendous influence. And so that is why I think people celebrate his death, is because the person who was most effective at reaching that demographic has now been silenced. But what they
Yeah.
didn't realize is they actually unleashed many other voices other than just Charlie Kirk. And so his voice will be louder in death than what it was in the 31 years that he was alive.
And he is, and again, I wish people, like, I know that a lot of people disagree with him. I know a lot of people agree with him, but if just take that out of the contest, just think of like it's fact that if you are, and we all like have shows and stuff like that, and the number one thing when you have a show is you try to get somebody as famous as you are or more famous so you can get more clicks. He's given a chance, a voice to somebody who have nothing, no follow. It
Right.
doesn't care how many followers you have. It doesn't care, and give you a voice. So it's insane. And there's a new text message and stuff, but we'll dive onto that later. I just wanted to get the human part of it. It's just like, how
Yeah.
did we get to that? So let's talk about politics and religion. Like, where you stand in this? What do you think the role of faith and religion in general in politics? Are you with separate, this is one thing, this is another thing, or do you think that no, it has to be combined? What's your thoughts in general in politics and religion?
Well, my faith has to go everywhere I go. I don't leave my faith behind anywhere I go. And so, in the realm of politics, my faith is going to shape, inform, and dictate how I view things politically. And that would be dishonest to not bring my faith into the equation of when it comes to politics. And, a lot of Christians struggle with, should Christians engage in politics, because it's nasty, it's dirty, it's I mean, it's not a good thing, right?
Yeah.
It is just it's full of corruption and everything like that, and so it's like, why even bother? Why even bother engaging in politics? And the reason is why we should is because people matter. People matter, and you say, well, what's the connection between politics and people? Well, politics determines policy. Those who win politically get to shape and put out policy. Well, policy is either going to hinder or help people. So policy directly impacts people, either for the better or for the worse. But if you don't win politically, you do not get to shape policy. Therefore, you don't get to help people. So that's why we have to. We have to be engaged politically. We have to use our faith to help shape our politics. And America was born out of a state of faith and politics working together. I mean, it's in the very opening line of the Declaration of Independence, the belief that God created all men equal. That's a statement of faith. Because God created each of us intentionally, we all are intrinsically valuable. Every single one of us, even the ones I disagree with, they have the same value, inherent value that I have. And so my faith shapes my politics. And that's why I say Christians have to engage. We have to, because if we don't, somebody else will,
Yeah.
and we'll have no say
Do you,
in
do you think there's a
policy.
proper balance between them or no?
Well, I think it's like this. We do know, I believe in the separation of church and state. I'm a firm believer in it because I don't want the government telling me what I have to believe. That's what the separation of church and state is for. I don't want the government telling me what I have to believe. However, that doesn't mean just because I'm a Christian, I don't get to have a say in how our government operates. We live in a representative republic. So my voice, even though I'm a Christian, still matters. Even though I'm a pastor, my voice still matters. Am I the only voice? Not at all. We're not looking for a theocracy by any stretch of the means. That's not what we're saying. But people of faith should be highly engaged within the political conversation and shaping of policy because, I mean, it's the United States of America. Freedom of religion is like foundational.
Yeah. So what do you say to if people say like, and we see that a lot, that faith has become a political weapon. Like either some people try to run that really don't believe, or they just use it as a weapon or use it as to get a group of people that, have, because a lot of times if especially this is very true with religions and all religions, like when politicians try to unite a lot of people, they look at something that already united a big group and bring them to them. So instead of bring them, they go to them. So how do you feel about like some say like, okay, faith can be become a political weapon, and how do you like? I'm sure you're able to, know which is which, but what's your general advice of people that say like, oh, how do I know if he's really representing my faith or not?
Yeah, that's the tough one, isn't it? Because every politician in America, typically speaking, is default Christian,
Yeah,
unless they were born a Muslim or a Hindu or something. Yeah, but just by default, if you want to get elected, you gotta, have some kind of claim to being a Christian. For the most part, it's obviously different across the country, but
yeah,
generally speaking, every president, right, is a Christian. Every president, just because if you're not, guess what? You're not going to get elected. So that becomes you have some people that use it or abuse the faith for political gain. And that's the unfortunate part because you can kind of see and read through a lot of them that, all right, they're just saying that because they want the Christian vote. The largest voting bloc in America
yeah,
is the evangelical voting bloc.
yeah,
So you're going to appeal to that demographic and you're going to use their jargon, their terminology, and you may say things you don't even believe, but they believe it. And so that is problematic. It's especially in the Republican Party
yeah,
because there's a lot of politicians who claim the name of Christ in front of the TV screen, but not behind closed doors. And that is a problem. Now, obviously, I can't go around saying that's a fake Christian, that's a fake Christian, because at the end of the day, I don't truly know somebody's heart.
yeah,
I can only look at the fruit, right? And that's Jesus told us, we're to judge people by their fruit. And so you can look at the fruit, and an apple tree should be producing apples and an orange tree should be producing oranges. So if you say you're an orange tree, well, then you should have some oranges as the fruit of it. And so that's the only way you can really judge. You can just look at the fruit, and if the fruit matches, well, then that's a good indicator. There's probably authenticity there. If the fruit doesn't match, well, then that's a red flag.
yeah.
And unfortunately, we just don't have the ability to go in and examine somebody's heart.
Yeah.
You can only hear the words that they say or the actions that they do.
And the policies that they try to pass or
Right.
not pass, as well. So why I always wonder this, why is always politicians turn to more Christian versus why not religious people turn into politician?
I know. Wouldn't it be a whole lot better if religious people became politicians rather than politicians magically becoming
Yeah, if
religious
that
when
if
it's
that's the selling point of the religion, right? Like at least you'd be like, okay, he's a good man. I always knew he's like that the whole time, but but also like the world, in general, like there's a lot of people that we know use religion, to gain a lot of things and to
of
get there.
course.
And it becomes, and like obviously all religions, all of them, around the world attack us like this. And I always say like, no, regardless of your religion, if you know the good people that actually practice religion, just watch them, watch their life, watch this.
Yeah.
It's the solution. It's not the problem,
Yeah.
because a lot of people like try to, obviously you can choose whatever religion that you want to be or not believe or whatever you want to do, but based on, I think you should study it. I think you should try to research and know and stuff like that. But a lot of people just say like, oh, it's a major problem. And I think a lot of people are trying to walk away from religion, maybe younger side too. What's your thoughts on that? Why
Well,
we have,
that is true. I mean, and it's unfortunate. There have been some really bad people do some really bad things in the name of their religion, whatever religion it may be. It's across the aisle on that. And so that's problematic, right? Because when somebody misrepresents the faith to say a younger person, it's a turnoff. Well, why would I want to be a part of that when this is the result of it? And so that's to your point earlier. It would be so much better if faithful people became politicians rather than politicians becoming people of faith every election cycle. They're a great believer when they're out campaigning,
yeah.
but then all of a sudden the faith kind of stops once they've gotten into office, and so that is why I call for more people who are Christians to step up and run for office because you'll bring something to the table that other people may not. And but a lot of Christians, I don't want to get involved in that because it's dirty,
It's a dirt. Yeah, yeah,
messy,
yeah. I have to lie.
and
I have to be corrupt. I have to have.
yeah, so it's like I don't want to lose my soul to be a politician. And I understand that, but I think you can do both.
Yeah.
I think you can keep your soul and be a politician at the exact same time. Now, is that easy? No, not by any stretch of the means, but it can be done because we've seen several of them.
Yeah, it's insane how people also are trying to I think label believing like there's a problem, in general, it's like there's a problem. It's like you really believe there's a guy, you really believe this, It's like, I don't know what the reason is. It's like I think the more science we have, the more science is actually not the opposite of religious. It actually proves it even more. It's insane to me.
Kind of goes together a little bit.
It's crazy. When you formed pastors for Trump, this is a obviously was a political state. What made you do that, and what made you see that? Okay, for me, President Trump is the one that I wanted to help. Like, how did that whole thing started? And I know you also were at the White House signing a couple of things. You can tell us about that as well. But
Yeah,
what
well,
made you? What was the shift that made you like, okay, I made my decision? Was it
you
the
know,
first time
I
or second time? First time he ran or second time or
second
both?
time.
Second
Second
time.
time. First time he ran, I was in college.
Okay.
I was a student.
What was your feeling about him?
Well, I was a supporter of President Trump the moment he came down the escalator. So I'm a part of the OG crew. I was a
Oh,
Trump
okay.
supporter early on because he was like a breath of fresh air in the sense of, I'm from Oklahoma, so we're Republican down here, and that's the way I grew up, and so I'm conservative just by birth. And I was really just kind of dissatisfied with the political leaders in the Republican Party because they just seemed so fake. It was
Yeah,
just like, oh, I got to vote for you, but you just seem fake. And Donald Trump was anything but fake. He said what he thought, he said what he meant. Didn't mean I liked everything he said or agreed with everything he said, but
of
he
course.
was
Yeah.
he was authentic. And I think that is what
He
drew.
was from New York.
Yeah, he was just like a straight shooter.
Yeah.
And you were just like, this is a breath of fresh air. Like, this guy is not the typical politician, which obviously he wasn't because he was a businessman. He wasn't a politician. And I think that was the refreshing side. That's what attracted to me to him in the first place. Now, the second time around, it was, well, look what he did for the Christian community while he was in office. He advanced the Christian faith in regards to policy more than any other president, at least in my lifetime. And so with that, it was a no-brainer. Whenever you're looking at the time, you got to remember it was Joe Biden and it was Donald Trump. And Joe Biden, he was just somebody I could not get on board with. One, not just politically, but everybody. And now the left wing media comes out. He wasn't physically capable of being the president of the United States. And I mean, if you were honest, you could see it a mile away. The media did the best they could to kind of, shield and dodge that. But President Trump had been such a great ally of the Christian community. How could I not get behind him and rally whatever I could in the body of Christ to support him? And so that is why it was. You look at the proofs in the pudding. Look at his administration in the first term. He was a great friend to the Christian faith.
What's your thoughts? Speaking of the first term with the Mike Pence, obviously Mike Pence was added to get the Angelica
Right.
vote. What's your thoughts on that? Chemistry that and how it ended between both. Did that change anything in your opinion?
Well, it changed my opinion of Mike Pence.
Okay.
I had been a Mike Pence supporter in the sense of like he didn't really do much, so there was no baggage, there was no scandals or anything like that. But
It was a good governor.
yeah, I mean, but I wasn't from his state. I
Yeah.
personally, when President Trump chose him, I'd never heard of
Yeah,
Mike
yeah,
Pence,
yeah. Me
so
too. Yeah.
it was like whatever. That's fine. That's President Trump's decision. But the way that January 6th was handled, I mean, I'm a firm believer that President Trump didn't win once or twice, or he's won three times. That's Jackson Lahmeyer's opinion. And so the way it was handled with Mike Pence just was a major turnoff for me. And so I was glad when President Trump did not select him to be his running mate again. And I think he selected a very strong ally and supporter in JD Vance. And so I'm excited about this administration, and they're accomplishing so much. It's incredible.
One of the things about Trump is like, even shows like this, you can't even schedule, I guess, because you don't know what he's going to do this week.
Right? It's like I have, is give us an update of what's happening. I'm like, well, go to X real quick and let's
Yeah.
find the latest thing, and I'll tell you real quickly what's happening.
Exactly. When you see the division in the country, like politically especially, like special when half of the country vote for one way, and this is just the way it is. There's always a couple millions more, but you have at least 70 million, and you see one side. First of all, I think we all are just bad losers. Whenever we lose, we just
Of
become
course.
yeah, it's just like and I feel like what happened to like whoever wins, we all support. I don't know, but anyway, when you see half of the country trashing the other half, like for if you are like a Democrat, you'd be like, oh, the Trump supporters are this and that, and you hear all these horrible things, or vice versa.
Sure.
The Kamala supporters are Biden supporters or whoever. How could you do that to when you see the one side is just talking too much and putting down, really down the rest of the half of the country, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, that's why politics are so dirty and nasty,
Yeah,
because a lot of it is an over exaggeration, correct? It's if you lose, the world's going to end. That's kind of how it's made out, right? Every election's the most important election that ever happened.
yeah,
That's if you hear that
yeah,
every like these 26 midterms, and I believe it, these 26 midterms are the most important
yeah,
elections we're ever going to have. And
yeah,
then come 2028, I'll be saying the same thing. This is the most important election in our lifetime. And there may be some truth to it as
yeah,
things escalate. But I think we so easily get caught up in the frenzy. And I mean, the media is great at this, right? This is what they've become experts on, is how to rile up different segments of the population. They can get us riled up, whether it's about race, they can get us riled up, whether it's about the different genders. They know how to spark and to fan the flames of rage. That's really do they ever report good news? You ever go to watch the news and it's something good?
yeah, no,
No. Good doesn't keep the attention of the audience. That's
yeah,
why it's always disaster, calamity, crime, whatever it may be. That's what draws in an audience. And they have figured that out. They've perfected it. And unfortunately, we've kind of taken the bait.
yeah,
And we support it by watching it, because that's what they're shooting for, is the largest audience they can get, and feel good stories about, so and so building a house for so and so down the street. That's not news.
yeah, yeah,
News is so and so got robbed. That's news.
yeah,
And so it's just goes to show you what the human heart is attracted to. We like rage. We like to now we don't like it done to us. The greatest liar in the world hates to be lied to. So
yeah.
we like to watch it happening, but we don't want it to happen to us. And it just goes to show you the sickness of the human heart.
Yeah, no, it's insane. But I agree with you. I always say that it's like a lot of people is like, oh, how come you don't hear, voices from the Middle East that say like peace or stuff like that? They just war. I was like, because it doesn't sell. There's so many, but it's not news. Nobody's gonna hear it. What? Oh, we all want peace. We don't want that, you know.
No, that
But
would be too. That's not provocative.
yeah, exactly. But when you hear like, people like because a lot of times, and I saw it both sides. I saw like people putting down Trump supporters or how could you be, he said this or that. You have no idea. You're so dumb. You have,
Right.
you're like not educated, blah blah. And on the other side, it's like, how could you be so woke? How could you? You're crazy. You're not really, you dumb. Like they put down the people and it becomes more divisive than like I feel, and this is one of the things that religion in general should be is you not decide, you bring people together, you don't
Right.
divide them together. And with this policy and all stuff like that, but I always, my point is like I want people here to hear how the other side feel as well when you hear all this stuff.
Sure. And that going back to Charlie Kirk, that was something he was very good at. He
Yeah,
just allowed you to express, like I said, and some of the stuff, is just wild. It doesn't even make sense. But he would give you that platform, that opportunity to say it. And then in a reasonable way, he would present the argument. And a lot of times it was convincing and people had a change of mind. And that's how we are to win the battle that we're in.
yeah,
It is not through bullets and bloodshed. We're to win the battle through arguments that are done with words, but arguments that are not like, hateful arguments, because that doesn't go anywhere. That
Yeah.
you never convince anybody by hating somebody. Even if you're right, you won't convince them because of the tone, because of the facial expressions, body language. And so Charlie was a master at that. And so hopefully people will see that and say, that's the way I want to engage with the other side. Because you do have to engage with the other side. Like, we are all Americans. We are
Yeah.
stuck with one another. Right?
Yeah.
We're stuck. So you do have to have this engagement. And the only way to convince, if you're wanting to convince people of your uh, argument, you have to do it in a way that is appealing. Like, how do you get a baby to eat spinach? You
Yeah.
got to make it appealing. You can't
Exactly.
just
Yeah.
like, come on.
I had a guest a couple of weeks ago. He's a historian about presidents, and he have this book, Marketing in Chief, how each president sold the idea. And he broke it down perfectly. He said like America is the only country in the world that bases not on anything else except an idea,
Yeah.
and that idea is what fuels it. So, we shouldn't really be sides, but unfortunately, I feel like a lot of people just try to work and gain a lot from division. Even like, they treat it like sports. I'm a Giants fan. I can't be that, it's not. So it's like CNN, Fox. It's the opposite. Like you, not even because you're good, it's just because the opposite of something good, and you just want to take the all the way to the other way. It's insane. But what do you feel about the if we said the state of the union, but the state of religion in the U.S. What's your thoughts if you break it down?
Well,
Are you happy with it?
unfortunately, Christianity in particular is under a severe attack in the United States. Now, we know Christianity is under attack in the Middle East and Asia and parts of Africa, but right here in America as well. In 2018, there was 50 attacks on Christian churches in the entire country. So that's like less than one attack per week. 2024, there was 415 attacks on churches. That's a 700% increase, and that's more than one attack per day. So there's an escalation of attacking Christianity, even from our federal government.
Yeah.
The IRS, DOJ, FBI, ATF under Obama, accelerated under Biden. And so President Trump is undoing a lot of that. But the state of the church is not so healthy in America, not so healthy.
What's the reasons you think?
For the church being unhealthy?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's same thing probably politically. The
Hmm.
church is very divided amongst itself. If you're a Baptist, you don't like the Pentecostals. If you're a Pentecostal, you don't like the Catholic. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And at the end of the day, we're all Christians, which that should bring us together,
Yeah.
not divide us and separate us. But unfortunately, the church is just as divided, if not more divided, than the two-party system, politically speaking, in America. And so Jesus put it like this: a house that's divided against itself, it cannot stand. It's going to fall. And so there's great division in the body of Christ. However, the optimistic side is because the body of Christ is being attacked, all of a sudden we realize, all right, I need my brother or my sister in the Lord because we're under attack. And so that attack will unify us together, just like 9/11. On September the 12th, 2001, nobody identified themselves as, I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat. That was out the window because we were under attack. It was, I'm an American, you're an American. We need to unite together because there's an enemy that is trying to destroy us. And so that is what will happen in the body of Christ as well. As we face persecution and as we face attack, all of a sudden it won't be, I'm a Pentecostal, I'm a Baptist, I'm a Christian, you're a Christian, we're under attack, we've got to unite together. So that's the bad news, but then there's also the good news.
How satisfied are you with the younger generation with the faith aspect?
Well, the numbers are actually quite incredible. Young men are outpacing young women to church for like the first time ever. It's typically the
Oh, wow.
girl that drags the
Yeah.
guy to church. That's the typical methodology here. And young men are outpacing young women to church, which is just astounding. Bible sales among first time Bible buyers is at record highs right now. And what that means is people who have never owned a Bible, not people who have a collection of Bibles going out and buying another Bible. People who have never owned a Bible are going out and buying Bibles. What does that mean? People are hungry for truth. They're searching, they're seeking, and Jesus made a promise. If you seek, you'll find. And so people are searching. And so there's the optimism because we were told that Christianity was on a major decline in the United States of America, which it was. But now we are seeing a tick upwards because of this younger generation, because of people who are coming back to the faith, as things get worse and worse around you, there's this innate thing inside of you as things are really, really bad to look up and simply say, help.
Yeah.
And people are doing that. People are doing that.
It's I don't wish this on anybody, but I was sick for like really sick for a while, and when you're in hospital and you're in like in a surrounded by everybody pretty much dying, it's so interesting how all they do is pray.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and you can be whoever you're gonna be, but it's like even if you don't want to admit it, but you go to be praying, gonna be like, oh God, you're gonna be like,
Yes.
it's
It's innate. It's
yeah,
it's inside
it's
of
crazy.
us. General Michael Flynn, he puts it like this: there is no such thing as an atheist in a foxhole. When those bullets are flying, everybody is praying to God. And it
Yeah.
doesn't matter where, doesn't matter what you thought beforehand. Once your life is that close to from being taken, all of a sudden that innate thing inside of all of us, we reach out to our creator.
And I feel like people like if you don't believe, if you have another, that's okay. Like for those who are listening and be like, okay, it's not just about that. It's about the bigger picture. It's about, how can we as human being be better in any way. So we're discussing that. So um what was your thoughts when we had the first American Pope?
I thought it was cool. I'm not Catholic, so
Yeah,
I've got no real like dog in the fight type of thing.
yeah. But it's kind of cool to be a very
I think
first
it was
American. Yeah,
great, because I'm, like it's an American pope for the first time and,
yeah.
forever. And so now hopefully this pope brings the church back to more of its roots than the previous pope, who was kind of leading in a progressive form that was just very not Catholic. And so, not being a Catholic, I can't be like, oh, he's doing greater. I don't follow close enough to say
Yeah.
things are good, things are bad. But as an American, I thought it was really cool.
What's your projection for the future? I mean, we have a major election coming up, and like you said, every election is the most important election in the world every time it comes up. But in the future, do you feel like there is more? Do you see? Because I really don't see a lot of leaders out there right now from both parties. It's like nobody like, and I feel like whoever's gonna come up, to continue is because we are in a very dangerous, state. We like
Yeah.
we cannot be divided anymore. We cannot be like there's a lot of things that need to happen. But I feel like whoever is the leader is gonna come up for the next one and the future, people we haven't heard from before
Yeah.
or never even heard of before. But and to your point, like maybe they shouldn't be politicians. Maybe there's somebody come who had a good working community and understand what they want and they're clear about things. I personally think that a lot of the laws of election have to change, from funding to voting to like there's a lot of things that need to change to be, to be the right way. But what would be the perfect if you would describe the perfect leader that's coming up, who would you like what's the characteristic that we need right now?
Yeah. Well, I think in the season where we're going, as there's more and more division, right? I mean, it's just, I don't think we're coming closer together. I think we're probably moving further apart. And at some point, you reach a tipping point, right? At some point, you go so far apart that you no longer are reconcilable. You
Yeah.
become irreconcilable. It's kind of like marriage, right? There is a tipping point in a marriage that leads to divorce, and so you don't want, no one gets married with the intentions. My end game goal is I want to go through a divorce. That's nobody's intention. But it does happen, right? It does happen. So how can two people who love each other begin to hate each other and they reach a tipping point of disrespect? And, there's many different things that can go into it. But if America is going to not experience the great divorce, which could very well happen, I mean, you reach such a dividing point where you have, say, a Texas succeed or a California, so, because they could be countries in and of themselves. To avoid that, there has to be some form of reconciliation. There has to be, and so a leader, if a leader's going to bring together, and obviously the crazy left and the crazy right, you're never going to be able to bring that together. That's on both ends
Yeah.
of the spectrum.
Unless there's more money in the middle, then they will come.
Sure, and then all of a sudden everyone comes
Yeah.
to it. So I just think that, to your point, the system would need a major overhaul, because to get elected to any position, it requires significant funding. And especially if we're talking about president of the United States. I mean, we're talking, these campaigns are spending in the billions. And so that is significant, and it's unfortunate because all of a sudden you have a handful of people who are funding this, and then they're determining how these things go. But a leader for me, this is just Jackson Lahmeyer. I want someone who is faithful to his family. I want someone who is faithful to his church, someone who has accomplished something in their life that is not winning an election, but they've actually, like Trump built a business empire. Somebody that is, capable in regards to, they know how to do things that are not just campaigns. So
Mm.
to me, those would be three major things for Jackson: would be, faithful to his family, faithful to his church, and faithful in regards to, he built something, he's accomplished something that is not just, oh, this guy's been a politician since he was 25 years old.
When you see like somebody like President Trump, who obviously build a successful empire. But there's a lot of, things that was done in a business matter, was done in a dirty way, was done in a non-Christian way. There's done in a lot of things. What do you feel about, I mean, people obviously can change. I do believe, I don't know, I could be wrong, I do believe that the assassination attempt had a major impact on him. I don't know, obviously, because I don't know him, but I feel like he had a different kind of life after that moment. But when you see somebody like started like this and did a lot of things that, there's a lot of lawsuits, a lot of stuff, and how you feel about that as a leader? If he is it that he is going to accomplish what he promised, which will be good for the Christian community and all that, or if he's like for Black community, if he promised something and he does, like, which is more important, like what he did and what he represent, or actually keeping the promise that he said, you know what, this is good for, regardless if I'm good or bad, I'm gonna do this, and he does.
Yeah,
Which is
well,
more important, you think?
obviously you could say something like Jimmy Carter was probably a really good man. Never knew him, but Jimmy Carter was probably a really good man.
Yeah,
He was an awful president.
yeah,
He
yeah,
was an
yeah.
awful president. And so, say what you will about, President Trump. Everyone's got an
By the
opinion
way, I'm
on.
sorry, poor Jimmy Carter. We just trashed you last episode. It's a coincidence. I swear to God,
Oh,
I didn't say anything to
well, we
Jackson.
didn't completely trash him. I said he was a good man. I didn't know
Yeah.
him, but I'm pretty
No,
sure
as
he
a
was
president.
a
Yeah.
good man. But he was a terrible president. He was a terrible president. So with that, I can say that moment in Butler, Pennsylvania, that did change
Yeah.
President Trump's life. It's totally changed him. He feels like he is a man on a divine mission, that God spared his life for a reason. That's to save the United States of America. So keeping those promises that benefit all Americans, whether it's the Black community, the Christian community, whatever community it is, as he keeps his promise of putting America first, that's going to benefit Americans.
Yeah.
If America's put first economically, domestic, whatever the case is, solving crime. Does solving crime help or hinder Americans? It helps Americans because I don't have to worry about getting mugged going out in Washington, D.C. at night right now. And so it is just so vital that the politician does keep his or her promise.
Yeah.
And that is the thing I love about President Trump, is when he makes a promise, he sees it through. And I've seen it firsthand up close. And that's why I have such great respect for him.
Yeah. I think, obviously there's so much and different opinions about President Trump and things he did and things he didn't do. Me in general, I don't think anybody is wrong about anything, everything, or right about everything. And this is all
Sure.
of us. So whoever just like take everything that he did wrong, I think he did some awful things, but I think he did some great things, the both. And that's true for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you see like what is best for you as a human being, for your family, for your community, for stuff like that, and go. But I feel like he's not also like, especially like with the Charlie Kirk thing, it's just like I feel like it was a moment that maybe to the point that you were talking about is like, have we reached that level? I think this should have been that moment. Is
And it
like,
could be this
yeah,
moment is we're still in
yeah. So that I was
this
hoping
moment.
more from him. I was hoping more from him coming up and saying an incredible speech. It's kind of like it reminded me of Biden's stepping down speech. It was just so bad. Like this could be history. Yeah, like you come into like a moment in major history. How could you not just be like real and So I feel like a moment like this, it shouldn't be who did this or stuff like this is the job of the FBI and the stuff. I think it should be like, guys, what's going on? We all American. What this is somebody that goes to you to talk to you. What's wrong with you? Regardless, you agree with them or you don't. But I think that's a moment that we should use, and I think him as a leader should use this moment to become, you know, uh, bringing all together again. So that's my hope for this.
I think you may be happily surprised come Sunday when President Trump speaks at
I
Charlie Kirk's funeral.
I hope so. I just feel like this is a time that because whoever is like, this is, I think, a moment also for you, as a person to understand if you're like a good human being or awful human being. If you celebrate anybody's death, it's just for no
Yeah.
reason. Even if you disagree with him, even if he was a horrible person, and he wasn't, but even if he was, just the fact that he's young, human, has children, wife, all this, and you okay with that? It's like, and you'd be like, oh, well, other people are dying and nobody care. It's not the same. We're not comparing pains here. You gotta
Right.
be a decent human being. Let's talk about your book. So tell me a little
Yeah.
bit about your book.
Yeah, so this book has hit number 12 in religion, and so it's Chasing After the Wind. And
Nice.
you can get it on my website, jacksonlawmeyer.com. And if you go there, I'll sign it and send you a copy. If you go to Amazon, I can't sign it, but it's on Amazon. It's
Yeah.
on Barnes& and Noble, Books A Million. And this book is really about how do you find peace, contentment, happiness in a crazy world, because
Oh
we
wow.
live in a crazy
It is a crazy
world.
one. So it's
And
almost like a health book now, not just a religion book.
it's just like this book will help you find peace, contentment, joy, even when the world's burning around you. Because if you focus on the world burning around you, you're gonna be miserable.
Yeah.
It's just it is what it is. And so yeah,
Can you
they can
give
go
us a
to
teaser a little bit of what you suggest in your book?
Coach Lou Holtz, I think, put it best. He said, if you want to be happy for an hour, go eat a steak. If you want to be happy for a day, go play around the golf. You want to be happy for a week, go on a cruise. But if you want to be happy for a lifetime, you got to get to know Jesus. And
Mm.
so this is all about having your heart transformed. And Darryl Strawberry, the great baseball player from New York, he wrote the foreword to this book. And so, my man,
Oh,
I'll send you a copy if you text
yes,
me
please. Yeah.
your address. I'll send you a copy. And like I said, JacksonLawmeyer.com, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Books A Million, Chasing After the Wind. Help us break into the top 10. We got to
Top
get into
10.
the
There you go.
we have
Yeah.
it. We're at number 12. We got to get into the top 10.
You got
And
to do
so,
top 10. I see also on YouTube you have a lot of interviews, a lot of
oh
work
yeah,
going on. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that. So people want to find you or follow you or, talk to you, ask you questions, anything, where they
yeah.
can.
So they can look up my church, Sheridan.church, Sheridan, Sheridan Church in Tulsa. All my sermons are there. And then obviously I'm active on all the social media platforms, X, Facebook, Instagram. I'm true social. I mean, you name it. We're on all of them.
Nice.
And so, man, I
You live
really,
stream too, right?
oh yeah, oh
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
oh yeah. So it's wonderful, and appreciate all that you are doing. And I want to thank you so much for having me on.
Of
Just
course, yeah. We
absolutely love
gotta
it.
No, thank you so much. And we gotta hang out when you come to Illinois.
Yes, yes,
Uh,
absolutely.
are you working anything happening soon? I don't know. I'm feeling it could be a politician one day. I'm not sure, but I
Don't
think
wish
you'd
that
be a
upon
good
me.
one.
Don't you wish that upon me?
Yeah, but you'll be a good one. But I mean, like you'll probably be like too good.
I'm having
You probably get some votes. You get a lot of votes if people know that you're real. You know what I'm saying?
I'm having too much fun right now. I'm
Yeah.
having way too much fun right now to jump into that mess. But maybe I need to practice what I preach. I'm telling other Christians they need to do it. So maybe
Yeah.
one day I will.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I'll leave the link to the book in the description of this
Perfect.
episode. So if anybody listening and watching, you can just press that link. It goes straight to the book. And it's great to have you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for a great conversation. And we'll talk soon. And I can't wait to
Awesome.
read your book. All right.
I'll send it to
Uh,
you.
Thank you very much.